So I'm back in the garage today working on the turbo mount again, and sorry guys, I done a little work off camera, but I'm going to walk you through what I've done, where we're at, and what's next, and I'll show you a new tool I made in order to build this. There the mount is right now, and as you can see, last time you guys watched I had this and it wasn't bent like it is now, and I talked about putting the piece up for the front mount for the turbo, and I've actually had the turbo mounted in there, and I've actually got a line drawn on where the base of the turbo was right there, so I got a gasket and I'm going to use it to lay things out for my bolt holes. But anyways, and then you can see my nice little mount right there, which that worked out nicely for the front bolt on the turbo. This one right there, that one. So when I get the turbo in there, it'll have the 4 bolts through the flange. Actually, that might get a little bit more interesting. There might be 6 bolts in the back of this flange here, and I'll talk more about that later. And then this bolt up front here to kind of help hold everything steady. So be good. I've got the bolts in the bottom of it right here, and these bolt into the intake manifold. And what I done was I took the intake manifold off because I don't have these torqued down yet, but I took the intake manifold off and I bolted this on here, and then I took and marked it from the back side on where those was, and then drilled my holes. And I had to work them a little bit with a file to get them to fit just right because I was off just a little bit, but they worked out really nice. But if you notice, that's bent. And that's bent. Now, that's welded out in there. And I kind of undercut a little bit, but for what it is, it'll be fine. Probably not my best weld back in that area, but I will show you guys what I done to bend this piece of steel here. And I actually made a tool for our press. So let me get things set up and I'll show you what I've done. Okay, so there's the bracket. You can see that nice sharp bend there, and I made my lines on it. And you can see the bends there. There's that one there I bent all the way across, and then this little one right here. And so what I did was and like I said, I've done some work without putting the camera on. Some days you just got to come in here and get something done, and I didn't feel like filming that day. I just wanted to work. Had to get my head right. So, but I'll show you guys exactly what I've done. I actually turn this around here. Oop, on down. There we go. You can see I've got something in the press here. So what I done was I made a bed, and I made that bed using a really thick piece of angle, and I put feet on it to keep it from being unsteady. So it sits right there on my, now it's a little, it's not perfect, it's close enough. And then I use this, which is another piece of angle. I welded a piece of pipe in it, right? And then I welded a flat piece on here, and then I put a little cup piece of pipe, that stuff in there, little cut piece of pipe in there, and that piece of pipe is just big enough to go around the bottom of the bottle jack here. So, like so. So now, what I'm going to do is get this thing. I've got a piece of metal, and actually this is a piece off of the piece I was using, and I'll show you something here. I'm going to get a tape measure. Tape measure. This is a 1/4 inch piece of steel. So, I mean, here where you guys can see that, it's right there at the 2 mark. And it is a 1/4 inch piece of steel. And as you see, that bracket was all the way across. I'm just going to bend a little piece of this, but we're going to bend a couple places. I'll show you guys how I've done that. But, say I want to make me a little bent tab on the end of this square bracket here. So, This is not as fast as, say, like an electric metal brake, but I don't have one of those. I've got a 20-ton bottle jack and a press. Now it's starting to walk on me some, so I'm going to back off. I'll slide this in here. I want that right past that metal is what I want. I just want the tab to bend. I don't want the metal to actually bend, the square plate. And that is pretty well bottomed out right there. Now the problem is, I'll let this back up here. I'm going to let it up a little bit because what I'm going to do is I'm going to work this out like so. Oh, actually I bent it over 90. How cool is that? I actually have to straighten that back up some. But so now I want to put a little tab going that way. All right. So I think, well, how's he going to do that? Because this bed is only so thick, and I can't get it in there that far, so I'll get a piece and I'll be right back. Okay, so I took the extra bend out of it. It's at about 90 degrees now. I didn't stick my angle finder on it, but I'm just eyeballing this to show you guys. So let me raise the bottle jack up a little bit more. Good. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'll raise it up more so I can pull it out and show you a little bit better. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of thick pieces of metal, lay them on the back side of that. I just made my V a little smaller. So now the next problem is now I'm touching there. So we're mainly resting on the feet. So I am going to slide these pieces out to where I can actually angle the back side of it there. And look here, I actually got another, got a couple pieces sitting back here already. Let's add them. We'll make it really small. That way we can get started there. Okay, and I can get it really close that way now. So now, the problem is I may have, by adding those other pieces that may be not tall enough. So I'll go ahead and let it up some more. Get that up on there. And I'll get that there. Alright. So now, I gotta get this held in place. I'm gonna start my pressure down. I may not be able to do this because of those pieces sitting too high in the back. That's gonna cause me a problem. A lot of moving parts here. Let's start making the bend a little bit further before we start adding other pieces. So I'm going to start my bend right there. Okay. Now, might take a little manipulation to get it perfect, because as you can see it's a little over bent. I actually probably pulled some of the bend out of that right there. But if I was looking to make a bracket similar to that right there, then I would have a couple bends. And then I could take a hammer on the anvil over there in the vise and kind of straighten certain things up. I think it kind of went that way some. But that's how I made that bracket. So now that I've showed you how I done that, we'll throw that over in the scrap pile. And pretty tickled with this. We'll be keeping that piece around for a while for other brackets and stuff we make. And I'll show you what the next step is with the turbocharger. Okay, so this is the exhaust inlet side for the turbo. And so what we got going on is this right here is a T3 flange. Well, it's a gasket. Okay, it's not the flange, but it's a gasket for the flange. And I have a T4 flange over there, and these bolt holes do not line up with it. But the top two and the ports themselves actually line up with a T3. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up drilling holes into this turbo foot here and tapping and threading these in order to give me the right place to mount to and get my flange to be right. And what I will probably end up doing is going ahead and drilling 2 more holes below them in that bracket, and that way I've got extra mounting. I don't know yet. I might not do that. I might leave that alone. I might just do the 4 bolts. Sometimes overkill gets the best of me. But with that being said, this makes a great template, and I've got my bracket. I leveled the turbo up with the back bell housing of the engine, and I drew a line across the top there where the turbo goes to, like so. And so what I'm going to do is take my marker, try and line up here with the area I drew the top side with. That's pretty close. And I am going to spend some time. It'd be awesome to have a plasma cutter right about now. You'd think I'd break down and buy one of them eventually, but that'd be too easy, right? So I'm going to spend some time and probably drill me some holes, and with a nose grinder work these out, and then I'll drill those holes to match the flange. And then once I do that and drill the holes and tap and bolt them here, I've got a flange coming that'll bolt on the back side. I'm actually going to sandwich this bracket between the turbo and the exhaust flange. I've got 2 gaskets for that. That may not be the right way to do it, but that's the way I'm going to do it, right, wrong, or indifferent. And then once I get that done, I can make my log manifolds for the exhaust, and I'll have someplace to send them up top, and I can work on that exhaust coming down around the motor once I get the turbo mounted. So you guys, there we go, do not want to see me drill a bunch of holes and gnaw that out with a diamond grinder bit. We got an air drill over here that works good for that, and of course you can use DeWalt too, whatever. We've got a drawer full of these right here. See those? This one right here is my favorite because this one, I'm going to hold the camera and look through the screen. Here we go. That was my favorite because it will absolutely take the metal with it when it goes. I've had that thing for a while and it's still sharp. And if you're looking to get a nice good clean edge on something like that, square edge, and you can eyeball square edge at this one, it's got nice roll over. Got a few of those, another couple back there, but I'll drill most of that out with drill, and then take those grinders and kind of work it. Might start with a hole saw to get rid of most of the metal in a couple places there, and then work my way around to get it cleaned up the way I want it to be. That'll be no fun whatsoever to watch, so I'm going to do most of that off camera. And when I go to do the back side, the hot side going down in the logs, I'll show you guys how that all ended up. So this will be it for this video, but the turbo does mount up. I do have to drill a hole through the bottom right there. And the reason I have to do that is because I've got it taped over, but that right there is where my oil drain is going to go through, which is where the old valve went for the, I can't remember the name of it right off the bat, but anyways, it lets the pressure from the crankcase release back into the engine, which we're not going to do that anymore. because we're going to pressurize the intake manifold, so it'll just blow back through. So I'm going to take that out. I will make a crankcase relief. I can't say it. Crankcase relief, either somewhere there or somewhere up front off the oil fill, and I'll go over that later. I got to figure out which way I want to go about doing it, but that is where the oil return will dump back into, and I'll probably make another fitting and just connect the hose from the oil fill, the oil dump off the bottom of the turbo, right there, to a piece that I will make that may very well attach to this plate. That way it bolts down and holds in there, kind of like the old one did, because there's really nothing around that, just a gasket that keeps anything from going down into or splashing back out, just a little O-ring. So, but we'll go over that later too. I kind of do some touch and go on this just because some of this work takes so long to do, and I just like to work with the metal off camera and not have to explain everything, and you guys don't want to watch that much B-roll. So anyways, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We'll see that thing sitting on top of that thing, and hopefully before long we'll see the exhaust logs up the back side to work around this SAE2 bell housing, and hopefully I'll get an adapter done. Right now we're in September. I asked if he could have it done by the end of September. I know he's busy, we'll see. And so into October, hopefully we can have the engine and transmission bolted together, and I can be finishing things up to work on putting this in the truck, and then we'll actually start tearing the truck apart, pull the motor out, and all that good stuff. So, and for those of you who have not watched one of our videos before and do not know what project I'm working on, you can go look at the rear suspension setup and everything. My lights off, walk into here. This is the truck that it goes on, and this truck, look, more projects over there. This truck has already got a GM14 bolt with air ride suspension, and it's got big semi tires on it right now. They're the 11Rs. I've got some mock-up low pro tires over here. Some of them have flat spots and stuff like that. They're not good tires, but they will allow me to mock everything up when I tear the front end apart to set the ride height. And then I'll buy new tires, obviously, before I put it on the road. We're not going to drive with those tires. So, but yes, once I get the drivetrain ready, that comes apart. Fenders off of it and everything. We might even rock the cab back on the frame. I'm going to build new steps. It's going to be a long, drawn-out process, but I want to build this truck to use it and keep it for years and ride around, haul things with it. And anyways, so thanks for watching. If you haven't yet, subscribe to our channel. I'll try not to be so talky next time. And yeah, see you guys later.